Hey guys, my name is Thomas, for those of you just joining us now, and welcome to how to increase your book sales with Amazon ads. Amazon ads can be a fantastic way to drive your book sales, to increase your book sales, if you do them right. Now, if you're just joining us, I want to let you know that this is actually, as you see on the screen, this is a part of a three-part course. This is part 3, and I would highly suggest that you start with either part 1 or part 2 if you've already checked out part 1. What we'll be checking out more specifically in this course is how to set up an ad. We'll start with the basic stuff. I'll walk you through the different types of ads that there are. I'll let you know about the different types of targeting, keyword targeting versus product targeting. Then we'll look at customizing your dashboard, simple but important. Then the meaning of all the metrics as well, not the most complex stuff in the world, but still very important to understand it. Then I'll give you some suggestions on how to find keyword ideas. Then we'll look at how the bidding system works. If you've never done any types of ads, that's very important, in my opinion, to understand. You should understand like what you're doing and what's going on behind in the system. Why do some ads cost this much? Why do ad costs fluctuate? Why is this ad that expensive? Why is this ad this expensive? Foundational stuff. And then, of course, we will look at which metrics you need to understand to make your ads profitable. And just before we dive into this course, really quickly, for those of you who are new, who perhaps didn't do this yet, I would like to remind you or let you know that there is an accompanying tailor-made worksheet, guide, and template bundle that goes together with this course. It includes a report that is called Best-Selling Book Marketing Checklist, all sorts of hiring templates for Upwork. We have a review request template that you can put in the front matter as well as the back matter of your book. And then we also have the worksheet that goes together with this specific part of the course, the Amazon ad worksheet / guide. The download link is down in the description box. And what you got to do is just follow all the steps, and then we will send this right to your inbox. All right, now setting up your first ad campaign. Let me take a sip of water real quick. So, how to go about doing this. If you've never done this, it's very simple. None of you should have trouble with any of this stuff. You're just gonna click promote and advertise. Then you're gonna click create an ad campaign, and it's going to bring you to this page right here. Perhaps if you have never done this, actually, it might ask you to enter your billing details. I'm not quite sure, but basically after you've taken care of the Amazon account stuff, the Amazon advertising account stuff, it will bring you to this page right here. It allows us to select between 2 different types of ads. For this walkthrough, for this guide, for this course, we'll be looking at sponsored products, but there's also the option of doing a lock screen ads that basically you put your ad on Kindle devices. All right, we click continue, and it brings us to this create campaign kind of window, this page. And what you guys got to do here is just fill out all of the steps. I'll walk you through what everything means, etc., etc., so you can kind of get a head start when you actually do your stuff, or perhaps you do it side by side. You will understand of what's going on where, and so on and so forth. So for this, I'll just call it demo campaign 1.1. Then the next thing you got to decide if you want to have your ad run forever, or if you want it to run for a limited time. Basically, for most of you, I suggest that you just leave it running, and then you come in, you tweak it, you look at it, you see if it's profitable, you kind of approach it in that way. But if you have some kind of specific goal, or you're kind of afraid that you might let it sit there forever and forget it, then you might put an end date. But yeah, most of you guys just leave it running. The next thing to choose is your daily budget. I usually start with something small, a small number. Something, it might be like 10 bucks, 15 bucks. It's usually not more than that, because that will allow you to not waste your money. Because how the advertising system works, we'll go into it a bit further, but how it works is in the beginning, it doesn't yet know how the various audiences respond to your ad. And so it's going to be, if you put a large amount there, you're going to be wasting quite a bit of your money. In any case, there will be some kind of testing going on. Anytime you start a new ad, you'll be testing different advertising targets, different keyword targets, and product targets. Don't be too worried if that's kind of confusing. We'll get to it. We'll get to all of that. But the message is that it makes, if you're on a budget especially, and generally if you want to run your business effectively, start with a low number there and kind of work your way up. But if you have money to cash to burn, if you're kind of on a tight schedule, you might enter a larger budget. Then we have targeting options. Now, again, we have automatic targeting and we have manual targeting. I always choose manual targeting. It just makes more sense, because when you choose automatic targeting, you're kind of saying to Amazon, okay, here's my money, here's my book, do everything for me. And what is it going to try to do? What the system is going to try to do is going to test a wide range of different keywords and different products. It's going to put your book basically everywhere. And it's going to be highly inefficient, and you're going to waste quite a bit of money until they kind of figure out what makes money, what are good targets for your book, which audiences it makes sense to show them to, in other words. So just suggest that you avoid automatic targeting, at least until the point where perhaps the artificial intelligence develops to such a point where, you know, they're smarter than, way smarter than us. All right, so then the next decision you gotta make is custom ad versus standard ad. Basically what a custom ad is where you can customize your headline and customize your ad text that goes below the headline. I usually actually opt for standard ad, although you might choose to do a custom ad text. Now you might test different things, what works, what doesn't, but my thinking is as follows. Basically, you know, if you've done a good cover, which we talked about in part 1, if you've done a good cover, if you have a good title, which we also talked about in part 1, then, you know, you should already naturally be attracting your audience. And also, if you have if your custom ad text differs from your, perhaps your book page, you might actually draw more clicks, but they actually might, if there's some discrepancy there, if there's some difference between the two, you might actually have, you know, a smaller percentage of people choosing to buy your book. That's my thinking. Now, you may feel free to test your own things. You might arrive at different conclusions, but standard ad works well for me. Then next step is to choose your product. It's going to be automatic if you took the route that I suggested, going to your KDP dashboard and clicking, as we saw right here, promote and advertise. Boom. What I do, I always just select one product for my campaigns. That allows me to, it gives me the information as I want it. It gives me about specific books. You know, in some scenarios, perhaps you want to test some kind of specific things. You want to test which books perform better from one to the next. If that's something, you know, you want to do, go right ahead. But for most of you, I suggest that you just go one book for one ad campaign. Don't make your life complicated. After you've selected your book there, what you're going to do is you're going to select your type of targeting. Now, this is where things get interesting. We have two types of targeting. We have keyword targeting and we have product targeting. For this one, let's go back to our presentation right here, because this stuff is important. So, different types of targeting. So there is the keyword targeting and there is the product targeting. Now, as we talked about in part 1, how most people find any product, any book on Amazon.com is using the search bar. That's how most people arrive at different types of products. At least that's where it begins for most people. And let's say I would be looking for Python for beginners. For example, it's Python, for those of you who don't know, is a programming language. And yeah, let's say I'm looking for this type of book. Python for beginners, I type in this search term, and what Amazon Ads allows us to do is to take this book and show it to people who are searching for this specific term, this term Python for beginners. Another term might be romance books. Another term might be, let's see, going back from our previous examples, might be origami for beginners, something like that. So we would be taking our book and showing it to these people, to these specific search terms. And then we're also going to take, as you'll see later in the course, we'll also take related keywords. So for Python for beginners, we might take Python, just Python. We might take Python crash course, or we might take also coding for beginners, related, but in kind of a different way. It doesn't mention Python, but it's still coding for beginners, so it might be profitable. Those people who are interested in coding for beginners might also be interested in Python for beginners. All right, so the next type of targeting that we have available, it actually recently just opened up for paperback books, which is super cool. We have product targets. Product targets are when you target different types of, in our case, that's books, different types of products. So that would be usually your competitors' books or related kind of books. You can choose to place your book, get it shown at the bottom of your competitor's book listing. And you can also target categories, which also is super cool and can be profitable depending on your niche. Now let me actually show you how this stuff works in practice. I've already prepared some tabs over here. So when you search for Python for beginners, you have the ability to put your book here, to target it here. For some reason, it's not showing any ads for me at the moment. I don't have any ad blocker on or anything like that installed, maybe because it's of my location. But basically what you're bidding for, what you're trying to do with your ad is you're trying to get it over here. Get it over here and sometimes also in the middle. So these are ad positions. You're trying to show it to people and get them to click on your book. Hence the importance, what I stressed in part 1, the importance of your cover. Once they click, that is the point at which you pay for the ad. You don't pay based on conversions, you pay based on clicks, but we'll get to all that stuff. And then the product ads are usually, they are shown here, sponsored items, related sponsored items, something like that. They just stack up here in a row like that. For some reason, it's not populating it fully, but I think you get the idea. Basically, a row of sponsored items who are bidding to get clicks from people who are on this page. All right, guys, let's go back here. And right, once you've chosen your targeting, your type of targeting, usually I suggest that you do both. You test what works. You gotta see yourself as a kind of a scientist. You're testing things, you're feeling things out, you're seeing what works and what doesn't. Then the next thing that you gotta choose is your default bid. You'll see how that works in just a minute. I usually go for something that's either medium or small. I don't like super large bids because that kind of, what it does is kind of, it runs things inefficiently, and I prefer to have things very efficient. So you might go for, depending on how crowded your niche is and how many people there are, you will select your bid. Here it's selected 30 cents. And it will, as you probably don't see this, I've blurred this, but as you can hopefully make out, what it shows you here is suggested keyword suggestions. All sorts of different keyword suggestions based on your book's title. And this is already really useful. You can just start adding all of these, whichever you feel are relevant. Relevancy actually is key. Relevancy is key to making your ads work. Now, and once you've added some, you might want to add some manually. Going back to our Python example, as you see, I typed in Python, and it's already giving me all of these examples right here. I might add Python programming relevant. I might add just Python. I might add Python for beginners, very related to my title. Those are the best. Definitely don't, the ones that are most related to your book are the ones that will be most profitable for you. At least that's what happens in most cases in my experience. Then what you can actually do, if you see that you like all of these keywords, or you want to, what it makes sense to do in the beginning is to actually collect like a reasonable bunch of keywords and then start looking what is working, what is not working. You just throw aside the ones that don't work. Right, so here we're going to select all keywords. You can just kind of look through it. You see this one doesn't make sense. Water changer, Python aquarium vacuum, that's totally unrelated. So the ones that are not related, Python aquarium, also not related. Those that are not related will lose you money if even they will get shown to those searches. Just get rid of them. I highly recommend that you get rid of them. You also would think of, let's see, coding for beginners, like so. Then, you know, around that whole kind of word, coding, and so on and so forth. This is a great idea, just right here. Like they want you to make money, because when you make money, they make money. It's like a symbiosis. Amazon is also interested for you to kind of succeed with this, so they're helping you with this kind of, with these suggestions, which is really good. Then, as we discussed in part 1, you can also use the keyword suggestions that are given to you over here by Amazon, although they're going to be somewhat same, somewhat different. You can also use, with time, you're going to learn to kind of be witty. You can look at the market. You can see what's going on there and just be smart, analyze your competitors' titles, descriptions, and so on and so forth. You can also use Google Keyword Planner, but as I mentioned in the previous part of our course, don't use it as your core. Use it as kind of something to kind of develop your understanding. You can see yourself as a researcher. You use different sources, and you use Google to supplement your kind of knowledge. Because the thing is, Google is used for searching for information, primarily, first and foremost, but Amazon is used for searching for products. Now, there's a big kind of discrepancy and difference there. Okay, and once you're done with making your list, you're gonna add the keywords. And as you see right here, the default bid that I selected is inserted here. It's just a little way of saving you time, so you don't have to change all of them manually necessarily. And as you can see if you're following along, the platform is giving us suggested bids, which as well is already a good sign of how much things are going to cost here. As you can see, this niche is pretty expensive. At least quite a bit of these are on the expensive side. That means that it's reached the ads have reached a reasonable point of saturation. But yeah, you would adjust your keyword bids, and a tip that I can give here is to use this thing below right here. It shows you the range. So basically, if you fall below this range, you most likely, your ad won't get seen, or gonna get seen very, very rarely. And this is the upper limit. This is, you know, if you're somewhere hanging around in this scenario, actually, why don't I zoom in a bit? If you're hanging around somewhere here, your bid is somewhere in this range. then you're going to get shown the most out of all of your competitor. You can use, there's a couple things you can do. You can use this suggested bid, which is they're kind of putting you usually in the middle. Or if you want to be hyper efficient, you can start at the low end and kind of keep inching it up. But that's a very kind of slow approach. So usually you can do it like this and then tweak it manually based on your preference. Like, okay, we see this one is really high, maybe I don't like that. We put it to 48, to the minimum, and so on and so forth. It's basically depends on your budget, on your goals, etc., etc. And yeah, you can also put in negative keywords right here, meaning keywords that you specifically know you don't want to show for whatever reason. Maybe, you know, we saw some irrelevant things popping up here, Python aquarium or Python, some weird stuff, some literal Python, not the, let's see, why don't we put in Python? It doesn't show us suggestions anymore, but yeah, we saw some stuff that was not irrelevant. It was literal Python snake stuff aquarium, but here we're looking at Python, the development language. All right, and once you're done, you're gonna click Launch Campaign. And congratulations, you have launched your campaign. After this, you're gonna wait for some, usually within a day's time, it's gonna get approved. Usually, if you would do it during the day, during the end of the day, it will already kind of give you a green light. Sometimes it might take 24 hours. It depends, it fluctuates, but generally speaking, it's not a lot of time. Okay, guys, so I just went back to create another campaign, and this is a product targeting campaign, just to show you how it looks and perhaps give you a couple of insights on this stuff. So just like before, it already gives you some suggestions on what is what, on what kind of categories or perhaps competing books that you would like to target. You just select target all or as makes sense for you. And what you're going to do is you are gonna click search. This is searching for categories. So let's say fitness. Right. And we have all of these fitness categories right here available for us. And you can actually use Amazon to search for it just similarly like we did before in course number 2 when we're looking at categories. You can check categories which seem interesting. And the basic tip that I can give you guys is start with many and then just put aside the ones that are not working for you and scale up the categories and product targets that are. So, and here we have the ability to target specific individual products. Now, at the moment, this is in beta currently, and this search function doesn't work. It offers, not that it doesn't work as well as it should, at least for the self-publishers at the moment, but that doesn't matter. What you should do is you should use Amazon and look at, for example, let's say our book is on Python. Obviously, we would take our biggest competitors. Maybe there's something that is better about your book. Maybe it has a better, this is where you can really make your product ads work very nicely for you. Maybe you have a better average review. Maybe you have slightly, better pricing. Maybe you have something that costs, for example, maybe you would have something that costs less than $25. You have something that costs like 8 or 9, and you can kind of undercut them in a way. Like you can make something that's better for the people, saves them more money, and gives them more value. Yeah, and basically what you would do, you would just like swim around Amazon, just picking out any book that catches your interest. And you'll just, what will you take? You'll take the ISBN number and you'll just throw it in here. Search by ISBN. Here we go. Target. You target everything. And you are going to see this. You're going to see, similarly like we did before, you're going to see the suggested bid for all of these categories, for all of these product targets, meaning your competitors' books or books in your genre. And you can kind of use the same or a similar kind of approach. Now, right off the bat, interesting thing I see, this is a very expensive category. I wouldn't even bother. Similar with this, but you can always test this. The targeting this specific book is already much better. It's starting at 24 cents. Amazon is suggesting to us based on what they know. You got to remember that the system knows. They have a lot of intel that unfortunately they're not really sharing with us, which makes sense. They have their own goals. But yeah, here we see the numbers. After you're done with this process, you're gonna, just like last time, click Launch Campaign and wait for it to get approved. All right, quick recap. We have learned how to set up our ads. I've walked you through all of the elements that there are and how to think about them, how to understand them. Now let's get to the metrics. Also, important stuff. So once you have your ad running for perhaps a week, you're already getting some good insights from it. It's giving you a whole bunch of numbers. Actually, let me bring you to the store. It's going to have a similar window as this one. It's going to show you your your results right here. And by the way, you can customize already this dashboard. You can add a metric based on what is interesting for you, based on what matters. Like actually the critical ones are ACOS, which I'll explain in a minute, sales and spend. I would say these are the most important ones up here. And you can choose which graphs you want to be shown for you. Then let's head over to targeting and let me walk you through what type of stuff is going on right here. I'll just see so I don't block the way. Right, so you have all of these numbers here. As you can see, hopefully I've categorized it by spend, based on spend. Usually that's where the most money is going. That's where I'm most kind of concerned with the numbers, where I want to make them profitable. So right, when you have your campaign running, you have Amazon giving you all of these numbers, and what is what do all of these mean? Let me shed light on that in just a minute. Okay, first we have impressions. Impressions means how many people saw your book but did not click on it. How many searches there were, for example, for your search term, but the people, for whatever reason, they clicked on something else, or they decided not to click on. This is or even if they did decide to click on, they're still in the impression group. Then you have the next metric, which is clicks. How many people clicked on your specific book out of these impressions? And for each of the clicks, you are paying a certain amount based on your bid. It fluctuates based on how many people are bidding. Then we have the total spend, how much money you have spent during this period, which you can actually select up here. Then you have cost per click. CPC stands for cost per click. How much is, on average, how much are you paying per each click? It fluctuates, it goes up, it goes down, based on how many other bidders there are and how many people there are searching. Okay, and then we have the orders. How many people decided out of all the ones that clicked, how many of them decided to place an order, to click buy now and get your book either shipped to them or purchased if it's digital. Then after that we have sales. Sales is the total number of revenue that your book has generated from these orders. It's just the price of your book times the orders. That's how you get sales. But the caveat is here that as self-publishers, we're not interested in sales. We're interested in royalties, really. The sales are just like part of this goes to Amazon, part of this goes to the cost of your book, if it's a print book like this one is right here. And then after that, the last metric, this is an important one that I use a lot, is ACOS. As you can see here, it stands for advertising cost of sales. Basically, what percentage of your advertising cost is in here? So basically, it's just this divided by this is how we get ACOS. Why it matters is because it allows us to get a feeling of how profitable our ads are, and so on and so forth. Let's go back to our presentation. Okay, guys, so now why don't we start diving in further? I walked you through how to set up your ad and how to understand what's going on in there. Now let me guide you through the bidding system. How does a bidding system work specifically for us? How does it work on Amazon? But basically, how does any ad bidding system work? So there are the customers searching for keywords, right? And then there are the advertisers searching for, bidding for to be seen by these people who are searching. And basically what makes up the ad cost is the relation between these two. So basically, if there are a lot of people searching, but a few people bidding, that means that the cost of advertising will be very low. These people will be making highly profitable will be having highly profitable ads, and vice versa. What usually happens, perhaps this can happen at the start of a trend, but then there's more products come in, more advertisers come in, and eventually the niche gets saturated. Then there are less searchers, and there are many bidders, and that drives through supply and demand, that drives the ad cost up. I hope that makes sense, because that kind of, that's the basis of what's happening here, and how and why some ads cost this much and other ads costs that much. Now, as a self-publisher, as an author, writer, or self-publisher entrepreneur, as I like to call them, what you are concerned with to make your ads profitable is this basic equation. Profit equals the royalty you earn per each book minus the average cost per order. I hope that makes sense. I'll repeat once again. So the profit for you depends on how much you make per book, per order, based on how much you got to spend to get somebody to order. So let me go back real quick to here. So to reiterate, how much you are spending here, how much you're spending to get your clicks versus how many people are ordering and how much you are making on these orders. I hope that makes sense. All right, so for example, your book might cost $8. For example, your print book might cost you $8, cost your customers $8. You might sell it for $8, right? $7.99. Then your royalty cut might be around $2.50. Let's say for this example, it's $2.50. Then your conversion rate is gonna be, imaginary conversion rate is 16.7%. Your conversion rate is basically how many people decide to become customers from people who are just sitting on your books page, checking it out, who actually decide to buy. Let's say 1 in 6 people buy, which is somewhat realistic. I can't speak for all niches and genres because I'm not in all niches and genres, but generally speaking, that's in realistic range, 16%. That's pretty good. Not amazing, but good. So, and in this example, your cost per click is fairly low. It's 25 cents. So you are getting average cost per order of $1.25, and you're getting a $1 to $2 return. Now that's not bad. You might look at seeing how you can bring your costs down and your costs down, how you can get more people at a lower cost. You also got to remember, so you're making $1 to $2 return. You got to remember that you'll be paying some tax out of the amount that you get out of Amazon. That's something you got to keep in mind to kind of not lose money, but you also got to keep in mind that your book is kind of getting momentum through the ads. And so once Amazon sees that, what actually happens in many cases, it actually might boost your book organically. It's seeing it's doing well, and you kind of will benefit from that indirectly. You won't see it reflected here. You'll see it reflected in your KDP dashboard. Now, quickly, guys, I want to remind you that there is if you haven't downloaded, click the download link. You're still watching, you're still here with us. There is the Amazon ad worksheet. I think it can really help you, especially if you're a beginner. Even if you're not, I think it's helpful So go ahead, click the link, download it, get it sent to your email. It's totally free. Okay guys, so and once you are done with setting everything up, the numbers are coming in. What is left? What is left to do? So then what you'll be doing, you'll be playing around with three things. You'll be playing around with the bid amount versus the pricing. So you'll be paying around how much you bid to get your book seen versus the pricing. And why pricing? Pricing is because that is how much you get back from each sale of your book. So if you increase your pricing, you're getting a higher royalty, but you will also get slightly less people, slowly you'll get slightly less people choosing to buy your book. And so you gotta slowly play around with these things until you find that you've reached your kind of sweet spot where you're getting enough back versus how much you are paying and so on. I hope that makes sense. So, and then number 2 you also see is add or remove keywords and product targets. How that works is once you've added your initial list, you will start to see some keywords will be profitable for you, some won't be, some will be sitting in the middle. That's usually how it works in business. You have a little chunk that gives you a little chunk of your output, gives you a big chunk of your input. It's called the 80-20 principle. It's Pareto's principle as well. It applies in a lot of places, definitely applies in advertising as well. What you'll do is once you see that specific keywords are not working and specific product targets are not working, you will just delete those and let them be gone. Stop wasting your money. And with the ones that are making you money, you'll see how to make them even more profitable, how to increase the profitability of these ads. And the ones in the middle, you'll also tweak them. You'll see if you can make them more profitable. The ones in the middle that are breaking even, that are making just as much as they are costing you. And you'll see if you can decrease the cost. If nothing works, you can just either choose to let them stay there or get rid of them. That's up to you. And also you can add new keywords, like step by step, 5 per day maybe, or 5 at a time. You can keep testing if you have missed some keywords perhaps initially to kind of get your ads to be as profitable as they can be. Guys, one thing that I've forgotten to kind of go over is customization. Now, how you customize your columns, I actually didn't know this for a while, which was pretty funny. When I realized it, you click on columns and customize columns. As I mentioned before, up here you customize with this add metric to customize what you want to see up here as your kind of main metrics. And but here, what you're going to do is you're going to click columns and customize columns, and then you can select which metrics you want to be shown to you. I actually take all of them except click-through rate. It's quite a big jumble of data, but it's important. Let me walk you guys real quick through what all of these mean. Suggested bid, you already know. Impressions, we went over. Clicks, we went through. Click-through rate is basically what percentage of the impressions decides to click on your ad. So these two, the ratio of these two. It's not really that relevant, click-through rate, so I just kind of omit it. But it can tell you the effectiveness of your title and your cover. Then we have spend. What is the spend? How much are you spending in total? What is the average cost per click during that period that you've selected? Orders, we covered. Sales, we covered. ACOS, we also covered. So I usually take all of them. You could also choose to skip the match type. But yeah, you get the idea. And then you have your dashboard. You can order by any of these metrics. I usually choose to order by spend. It allows me to prioritize based on how much money is going there and tweak the most potent kind of keywords first. Okay guys, that's it for advertising, Amazon advertising, as well as the whole course. If you've been following along all three parts, congratulations. You should be giving yourself a big pat on your back and doing a little victory dance, as we can see Andy from The Office doing here in the little GIF that I put there. So yeah, what's next? Now, of course, that's not everything that there is to this. There's a lot more that you can learn, especially when it comes to keywords. when it comes to selling strategies and understanding the system, but this is definitely a good chunk of knowledge for you guys to implement, to get value from, and to get started. I really hope that you'll be able to benefit from this, and you'll take action, and you will have great results. I will see you guys around here on YouTube or via email or wherever. If you enjoy this, feel free to give these videos a like, feel free to share them, and feel free to let me know what you think down below in the comments. So yeah, I shall see you guys around. Bye-bye.